So welcome to KO Tutorials. So here I am coming up with a new tutorial. So we are going to start up with a Substance Painter. So what is the exact use of Substance Painter? So many of you have heard about Substance Painter. So let me explain you. Substance Painter is widely used for creating textures. So you can do some 3D painting on directly on the mesh. You can create your own textures, you can paint the mask, you can do lot of things with the help of the Substance Painter. So let's get started. So very first of all, let's open the application over here. So why we are learning this application is like we are already doing the 3ds Max texturing tutorials, we are doing some unwrapping tutorials. So from now onwards we'll be utilizing Substance Painter as the main application for texturing the models, so we can do it much easier over here. So instead of Photoshop, we'll be doing it in Substance Painter. So let's get started. So you can just go into this and just write Substance Painter. That's of a Adobe application. So you can just open this Substance Painter. So let's click on it. So let's open the application. So this is going to be a wonderful application where we are totally doing the modeling stuff, and few of the things where we are going to unwrap it. It's very important that you unwrap the models before taking it into a Substance Painter. So you can paint directly on the 3D mesh instead of painting on the flat UVs. So you can also paint on flat UVs, but also you can paint on the 3D mesh. Other thing over here is like you have to generate the UVs. You need to unwrap it. After you unwrap it, you can import this in Substance Painter. You can paint 2K, 4K textures over here. If your PC is more configured, you can paint up to 6K textures as well. So let's get started. So very first of all, when you start up over here, so this is a user interface for Substance Painter. Let me explain you. So first we have some basic mesh over here. So let's click on Start Painting. So you can just click on this Start Painting option over here. So once you click on the Start Painting, so you will get one ready-made model which is a inbuilt mesh over here. It will get preloaded over here, as you can see. So if you see this properly over here, you can see that this is my 3D view. You can change the views from here if you want. You can change it, default camera, you want the front focus and all this stuff, front, back, and this is your 2D view. So 2D view is something like more of like you should have a knowledge of unwrapping over here. So when you are working with this over here, so it's like you have a lot of things. So let's go through this. So this is your menu bar, this is some of your toolbox over here, and these are some material libraries. So there is a vast material library you can see over here. You can create your own materials. You can go into this. There is a smart material. We have some mask over here. We have smart materials. We have mask. We have filters. We have brushes. We have different brushes as well. So you have alpha over here. You have textures, and also you have environments. So there are multiple things which can be managed over here. So if you see this over here, if you see this, we have this your 2D stuff and your 3D stuff. So whatever you want, you can go with that. So most important over here, there are two things. This is your layer panel. So whenever you are going to start up, you have to bake a mesh. So you need to bake the textures over here so you can easily paint it. So right now this is already baked. If you go into this, into the texture parameter, you get a normal map, you get an ambient occlusion, you get the thickness, the height map, opacity map. All these maps are already baked because this is a inbuilt model. So you can go into the layers, and whatever size you want to paint with the textures, you can just set the size of the textures over here. So click on the layers. So there are a lot of things over here when you are starting up over here. Now what I can do over here is like, there are two things you need to take care. First is paint layer and other is your fill layer. So paint layer will help you to paint with the colors or materials, or you can say you can paint the colors or textures and all this stuff. So paint layer, you can use the brush over here. Fill layer, you cannot paint. So fill layer cannot be used for paint, but you can fill it some with textures. You can create your own textures, you can create alpha maps, you can create, so there are multiple things where we can use the fill layer. So we'll be going through multiple maps over here, so you need to make sure that you understand the properties of a color map, height map, we can say normal map, roughness map. So these are all the properties we need to understand. So let's go over here, go to this 3D, alt and left mouse click to rotate the view. As you can see, I can rotate the model and I can see this. And if you go into this parameter over here, texture set list, you have see that head is different, body is different, base is different. So you can easily change all these parameters over here. So if you're working with head, you can go with the head. If you are working with body, you can go with the body. If you're working with base, you can go with the base. So this is what you get in the default over here as white over here. After that, select this over here. You can unwrap these models in any of the software like 3ds Max, or you can unwrap in Maya, you can unwrap in Blender or any other application. You can export these models in OBJ or FBX format and you can import it, but make sure you are unwrapping this model. So unwrapping is very important over here. If you are not unwrapped it, it's not going to work over here correctly. So make sure you are unwrapping the model correctly before you start. So how you can rotate the view? I'll just write some basic shortcuts. Alt left mouse click like Maya, if you're using a Maya. So Alt plus left mouse button, after that you can pan it. Alt middle mouse button press to pan it. So pan the view. Alt plus middle mouse button to pan, and scrolling to zoom in and zoom out. So you can easily scroll it. To zoom in and zoom out. So this is for a beginner tutorial. For the beginners, I'll go step by step because we are also unwrapping our latest WDM2 model over here. So we are going to texture in Substance Painter, so you can get some basic ideas from this. After that, once you start over here, right now if you see this over here correctly, you have right now a layer that is known as a paint layer. If you see this, this is known as a paint layer and this is known as a fill layer. So right now it's written as a add a layer. So whenever you click over here like this, so it is going to add a paint layer. But if you click over here, it is going to add a fill layer. So whenever you add a fill layer and you try to paint it, you can see there are no options activated. You cannot paint on a fill layer. So let's just delete it again. Click on the paint layer and you can see again it is got activated. So paint layers can easily be painted and fill layer you cannot paint it. So either you can paint it directly on the mesh or you can paint it on the UVs. So as you can see, each and every body part has been unwrapped over here correctly. So you can easily do this. You can scroll it, you can press Alt right mouse click even to pan it over here. So let's take a new layer and let's double click and rename it as base color. So if I rename it as base color and let's go down. So whenever you go down into this, you will see that there is a material color over here. If you click on the base color and for example you take any color over here, let's take this color, and if you try to go over here and you try to paint it, you see that it is directly going to paint on the model. So you see that it is going to paint it, also it is going to paint over here. Similarly, whatever you are painting on the 3D mesh, it is directly going to paint on the model as well. How you can increase or decrease the size of the brush? You can increase it like this, or you can press Ctrl, right mouse click, press and move. So increase the size of the brush. So you can press Ctrl plus right mouse click button, press and move it right and left to increase or decrease the size of the brush. So you can increase the size of the brush like this. So if you want, you can increase or decrease. Wherever you want to paint, you can easily paint it. See, so you can see that I can easily paint it anywhere on the face where I am painting. I can even paint it over here as well. So it requires a good graphics card. So if you have a good graphics card, then it is going to work correctly over here. Once it is done, you see that I have taken one base color. We'll go through this later. So now if you see, I have one layer which I have painted totally with the orange color. So as you are aware of with the layers over here, you can take a new layer, and if you take a new layer and if you go on to the second layer and if you go over here and if you try something with a pink color, as you can see now, if you see, this is a layer. So if you try to paint a pink color on the top of the layer, and you have multiple things over here as base color, metallic, roughness. So right now we'll just go with a base color. You can individually manipulate these elements. Like if you want to reduce the opacity of this particular pink color, I can just go over here and I can reduce the opacity of the pink color as well. You can go over here and you have some blending options. If you feel like I want to multiply this two colors, I can do that. So you have different blending modes over here where you can use this. So whenever you want, you can use it. If you want to shift it down, you can shift it down. You can shift this up. These are very basic elements. So we have right now as a paint layer. After that, if you go into the brush over here, you have different styles of a brush. If you take this brush, as you can see now, if I select this and if I try to paint it, you see that the brush from which I am painting is a very different kind of a brush over here. Now if you want to rotate the brush, you can press Ctrl, right click, and you can push it up and down. So Ctrl, left mouse click and move the mouse. You can see I can rotate the brush. So if you want to rotate the brush parameters, so how we can rotate it? So I'll just go over here and I'll write it, rotate the brush, Control plus left mouse button, press and move it. Now if you see this, then you have another property over here that is known as a flow. So how you can adjust the flow? That's the color flow. If you reduce the color flow, you can see it is going to be light. That's the color flow. So you can press Control, left mouse click, move it right and left to adjust the flow. So you can just duplicate it, change flow of brush, Control plus left mouse click and move it right and left. If you move it up and down, it is going to rotate the brush. So this is how it's going to work over here in this way. So this is very important how you're going to work. So you have this one paint layer. I have painted one more layer. So as many layers you want, you can go with that. So guys, if any doubts, please put it in the comment section over here. So for today, I'll just keep it over here for this. That's the first session over here of Substance Painter. So if you have any doubts, please put it in the comment section over here. I'll come up with few more things over here. The Substance Painter will explain you multiple things. You can also right click and change the size and everything. So we'll continue the rest of the part in the coming tutorial. So thanks for watching.